You know, when you hear some stories, they don't add up at all. For instance, the story about a plane from Nigeria that landed in South Africa carrying almost $10 million on that plane, and the Nigerian pilots and crew did not declare that they had money in South Africa, causing South African government to seize that chunk of money. And then there was this whole story about who owned that money. Because the airplane belonged to the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, some politicians were quick to say that, well, it was the Christian organization of Nigerian Christians that had that money in South Africa, and that the money was being used to buy arms. That was terrible, to place the leader of the organized Nigerian Christians in such a bad light. Bad rumor, bad story, given all we know about the country, given the ongoing war against Boko Haram. For that to happen was terrible. But then Nigerian government moved quickly and said no, that the money was Nigerian government's money, meant to be used in purchasing arms from South Africa. Of course, that would be an exoneration or explanation of the involvement of the president of Khan. It says he wasn't involved, though the plane that was used might be connected with him, that he leased the plane to those people who used it for that purpose. And some Christians said, oh, well, that's all right, that's the end of the story. But no, that should not be the end of the story. That should be the beginning of the story. And this is why I tell you something now. Governments don't carry cash, raw cash, on an airplane flying around the world. It's impossible. It is so totally retarded to even think that, because anything could happen. The plane could crash. Anything could happen. The plane could be robbed. All kind of things. Nobody in his right mind will carry cash in such amount for any purpose. Only criminals do that. Only terrorists do that. Only drug lords do that. And by the way, where were they buying the arms from? Were they buying it from a legitimate arms dealer? If that was the case, that arms dealer would have a bank account and would not want you to bring raw cash. They will ask you to pay into their bank account if it was a legitimate business. And if it was government doing the buying, Nigerian government transacts through its central banks when they have to make payment overseas. All right, if they don't want to do it through the central bank, any of the Nigerian banks could have wired the money for Nigerian government to any account in the world that belongs to the arms dealer. There is thus absolutely no excuse, no legitimate justification for Nigerian government to carry $10 million cash on an airplane and end up in South Africa for buying arms. And by the way, if that was true, why did they not declare the money? That was a very simple thing. The money belongs to the Nigerian government. You are here to buy arms with the money. Why on earth would they not declare the money? Why would the South African government seize it? That tells you something else. That tells you something very serious. The purchase of arms is an excuse used. It's a pretext. And that means that the war against Boko Haram is also a pretext. This may explain why the war has gone on this far. Why hasn't the government of Nigeria been able to crush Boko Haram? Nigerian army, the mighty army of Nigeria, second to the biggest after South African army, second to the strongest, should have been able to crush Boko Haram within weeks. But now, Boko Haram war will be allowed to go on because it gives Nigerian government officials an opportunity and their agents and contacts opportunity to embezzle money, to steal money under the pretext of buying arms. As long as the war is going, then there will always be a pretext to buy arms. So invariably, it's not in the interest of the government to end the war. The war will last forever. It creates opportunity, excuses for absurdities. Absurdities such as flying $10 million on an airplane that could have been lost in the jungles of Zaire. You gotta begin to think. It's not adding up at all. Those who think that the government coming forward to explain away the involvement of Khan president will solve it, fine. That's good for the Khan president. I mean, an innocent man, a wonderful man. Maybe he wasn't involved. Maybe his plane was just used. But we seem to be moving from smaller problem to a bigger problem. If Nigerian government is purchasing arms just the same way terrorists do or warlords do, then we got to answer questions. Somebody has to be held accountable. So it's not adding up. So when you read these things, you got to read in between the lines and begin to ask tough questions as a good citizen. Thank you.